An article from Chula Vista Today, dated June 5th, 2024, highlighted California prison system's growing violence problem. California prisons have been plagued by violence and fatalities, with at least 8 inmates murdered. Additionally, 3 deaths from lethal force incidents, 1 suicide, and 1 attempted murder of 2 officers had been reported. This article was dated June 5th, which meant that we were only halfway through 2024. This video is going to cover one of those murders, which took place inside of Pelican Bay State Prison back on April 21st, 2024. Guards at Pelican Bay initially found Michael Challoner sparring with another inmate, Joseph Quintero, during, quote, day room activities, the period when incarcerated inmates are allowed to socialize typically in a common space. However, when guards broke up the fight, they discovered Challoner had suffered multiple puncture wounds and was pronounced dead just a few hours later.
A 19-year-old youth was killed and another man was seriously hurt in a gang fight over the weekend in East Los Angeles. Gang warfare is getting more serious and more violent. Geraldo Rivera reports.
Put your hands on top of your head.
Welcome to Los Angeles. This is the other side of the Sunshine City. This is East LA, a 7-mile square area, an easy 10-minute ride from downtown. It's the home for more street gangs and more street gang-related violence than any neighborhood in any city in this country. What you are seeing is real life. Police and gang members in an everyday struggle for control of this tiny violence-plagued area. In just this one section of town, there are 18 fighting gangs. Last year, they were responsible for 20 homicides and hundreds of serious injuries. It's neighborhood against neighborhood, and they're almost always at war with each other.
What we have actually is about 2,000 youths in East Los Angeles that are gang members. But the gang members themselves really view themselves as soldiers in their neighborhood, there to protect that neighborhood.
Squire is leader of the Arizona gang. Recently, a shotgun blast tore through his home. Fortunately, no one was injured. Irma is his wife.
Irma, aren't you ever afraid that you're going to get hurt? Or the kids will get hurt?
I'm used to it.
One of the gangs let our ABC cameras record its song. This is our neighborhood, the song translates. Arizona, the Arizona neighborhood. Let the marijuana loose with the neighborhood boys, the crazy men of Arizona. Named after a street in the area, this gang, like many others in East LA, has been in existence for 4 generations. Long enough for gang violence to become almost a ritual, a way of life. When they get together in the late afternoon, they post sentries on the high ground across the street, watchmen to guard against deadly raids from rival gangs. Crippled by chronic unemployment and alcohol and drug abuse, the hardcore gang members have probably forgotten what they're fighting for, and it's getting worse. In the old days, 2 rivals would square off for what they called a fair fight, but it's not just fists any longer. When they fight now, it's guns, knives, and death. This member of another gang spent 5 years in prison.
I got busted for attempted murder, stabbed the guy 28 times. I got shot 3 times. Got shot the head, the arm, and the leg. The majority of dudes nowadays, they don't know how to fight. That's why they pack guns. They're scared of an ass kicking. You know, an ass kicking ain't gonna hurt nobody. Got my butt whipped a lot of times. Got my teeth knocked out with a baseball bat.
You're clear on the right. Oh. Riding with a special gang intelligence unit of the LA Sheriff's Office, our ABC cameras were present when deputies caught members of 2 gangs, La Rock and Garrity, about to go to war in a neighborhood shopping center.
Okay. Ready. Hey, these guys are handling the cha-cha now. We can always...
When one of the gang members was searched, the deputies discovered a loaded .38 caliber revolver.
Ain't nobody holding me. You mean that dumb? We're not even still in the project.
Partner find a gun?
I
grabbed him by the sleeve, and I felt the gun in the sleeve, in his left sleeve.
You
so
felt this?
It was in his sleeve like this.
Like this, and as you grabbed him?
Right.
You felt this thing? And you'd say...
He had it in his army jacket, so I just grabbed it like that, and I told him, don't move.
As you can see, there's nothing at all romantic about this East Side story. But despite the history of violence, attempts are being made to solve the gang problem. I'll have more on that tomorrow. I'm Geraldo Rivera, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Gang murders may have declined in the city of Los Angeles, but there's still a lot of violence poisoning the larger county area. CNN's Greg Lamont reports.
The 20-year-old is dead. He was pronounced this morning at 4:30, and the other victim, the survivor, was shot in the head.
Just another typical day in the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department gang unit. The walls are filled with photos of dead gang members, and there's room for more.
This has been going on since the turn of the century, and the only difference is that the activities have increased to such a degree that it's catastrophic in nature.
Gang-related killings in the city of Los Angeles are down from last year. That's because many of the black gangs continue to honor a truce that was forged during the riots. Such is not the case in the county. Latino and Asian gangs are on a record pace for homicides because the gang population is growing and truce is not in their vocabulary.
People just pass by and they shoot. They shoot, and I guess shooting is fun, you know, but it's not fun. Because, you know, my friends of mine, they've been shot and they've been dead, you know, and that hurts me, you know. So that makes me mad. I want to go up to them and, you know, do what I got to do.
I don't think there'll ever be a truce. Not with us, anyways.
Why not?
I don't know. Just can't get along with nobody.
Got to keep going. It goes on, never going to stop.
It ain't going to die, it's just going to multiply. It's the way it is. Young kids grow up and that's all they know.
There were 771 gang-related killings last year in L.A. County. Those who work with gang members say they just can't envision the killings ever coming to an end.
They don't want to change. They'd rather leave it as is. They want to have the gang warfare, you know, with the other barrios. They don't want to forget what happened between them. They don't want to forget the homicides among them.
Why? Well, it's always been like this, you know.
These youngsters say the shootings must be slowing down because nobody in the neighborhood was killed in the last week. Greg Lamont, CNN, Los Angeles.
The word is out among convicts. The one place you don't want to go is Skeleton Bay. That's what the inmates there call Pelican Bay State Prison in California. And you sure don't want to end up in the security housing unit there, known as the SHU, the toughest maximum security prison in the United States. The state of California that runs it proudly proclaims it's the wave of the future, designed to isolate prisoners who they insist are out of control, too violent, too unpredictable to be housed with the run-of-the-mill murderers and rapists. But to the men who are locked up there, especially in its SHU, Pelican Bay is simply torture, a living hell where inmates are brutalized and sometimes driven insane. Behind this razor wire is the infamous SHU at Pelican Bay, its security housing unit. Windowless, high-tech, silent, grim, concrete bunkers. Pelican Bay's SHU is inside Pelican Bay State Prison, with 1,500 inmates, incorrigible, sent here from California's other prisons to isolate them. And they do hard time here in the SHU. Time here is like hard time in no other prison. James Gomez is director of the California Department of Corrections, the man in charge of all of California's prisons. He says Pelican Bay's SHU is reserved for inmates who commit crimes while they are in prison.
If you commit 5 murders on the outside, you don't go to Pelican Bay. If you commit 10 murders on the outside, you do not go to Pelican Bay. If you stab staff and you stab other inmates, you go to Pelican Bay. What Pelican Bay is for is to isolate those individuals who come into the prison system and cannot behave within the prison system.
Built at a cost of $250 million, Pelican Bay was designed as a massive automated isolation unit using state-of-the-art technology. Inside the SHU, no bars, but specially designed steel doors, no direct sunlight ever, and no direct contact with another inmate. For 22.5 hours a day, inmates are kept in their cells, and for 24 hours a day, the inmates are under the control of heavily armed guards.
What's going on, you guys? Welcome back. Another episode of Greenlit Gang TV. Much love, much appreciation. Thank you guys so much for checking out the channel today. The video, big announcement, at least for me, big announcement. We hit over 15,000 subscribers. I've been talking about that in a lot of my recent videos. Thank you guys. Without you guys, my channel is nothing. Without you guys tuning in, commenting, engaging, even the comments that going at me, it don't really bother me at all. The fact that I get to make these videos, the fact that I'm doing this, that was a dream of mine, that was something that I thought about doing for a long time. The fact that I'm at this point, waking up, in the morning to get ready to go to work, and I got over 15,000 subscribers. I'm finishing up a video. Sometimes I get tired, get discouraged, but at the end of the day, man, I love doing it. I love hearing back from you guys. And this little mini series we've been doing on California prison deaths and covering Pelican Bay and stuff, it seems like you guys are really liking it, enjoying it. My last 2-3 videos have done really well, and we're going to be kind of sticking with that theme today. We're going straight back to Pelican Bay with it. This story happened in April of 2024. We're also going to be reading from an article just about the ongoing violence that plagues the California prison system. Kind of been a theme too of my last couple videos. We're going to be reading from an article that I touched on in the intro. We're going to be going into more in depth on that and just how the California prison model has really just deteriorated. And yeah, I do blame Governor Newsom. I do blame him for thinking that this model that they developed from Norway and came back. And I watched, again, Hector Bravo, go check his channel out. I watched his interview, what he did with Soft White Underbelly, and he talks about how not only did we kind of take Norway's model, but then we even tweaked it more so, further left, where even Norway was like, wait a minute, we didn't even do some of that. You guys are going way extreme with this. We're going to just kind of coddle them more. There's no consequences for their actions. You stab somebody, hey man, just go back to your cell. There's no more segregation. There's no more consequence for your action. Let's just leave it at that. Okay. And I disagree with that. And I think the results speak for themselves. And we're going to be talking about some of those results after we dive into our official story that involves Sureno gang members and the death of one of their own. And kind of at the similar theme of some of these last couple of videos, it seems like a lot of these gangs are cleaning house themselves. The last video we did, it was a Norteño gang member killing another Norteño gang member. We cover the story of Joshua Kerr, who just died February 27th of this year. He was found in his cell murdered. He was a white supremacist gang member, possible ties to the Aryan Brotherhood. They don't know who killed him yet, but the word on the street is it was his own. So anyway, this article is from April 22nd, 2024. The incident happened April 21st, 2024. 4 inmates at Pelican Bay State Prison in Crescent City have been moved into restrictive housing while prison officials investigate another inmate's death as a homicide. On Sunday, Michael Challoner, 36 years old, was stabbed multiple times and was transported off prison grounds where he was later pronounced dead. Guards at Pelican Bay initially found Challoner sparring with another inmate, Joseph Quintero, who was also 36 years old. During dayroom activities, the period when incarcerated inmates are allowed to socialize typically in a common space. When they broke up the fight, guards discovered Challoner had suffered, quote, multiple puncture wounds. I thought the term sparring was really interesting. So it's like they were boxing? And then he was found with puncture wounds. It's just little wording like that. And maybe because I've done so many of these stories where it's like, and I'm speaking about what the guards are saying, it doesn't add up. They were sparring. He's getting stabbed. It's like, that's not sparring. That's an assault. But anyway, so continue to talk about it. Then they decide the recent inmate death at Pelican Bay State Prison is now being investigated as a homicide, reported, and that was from what the CDCR said. The inmate's death occurred Sunday, April 21st during those dayroom activities. The exact time was at 6:55 p.m., all right? They talked about when they engage in the physical altercation. During the altercation, the CDCR says medical staff were called for assistance and determined Challoner had been stabbed multiple times. And despite life-saving efforts and a transport to a local hospital by an ambulance, the CDCR says Challoner was pronounced dead at 7:47 p.m. So from there, the investigation kicks off. While searching the section, the CDCR says deputies found inmate 49-year-old Michael Jones near a cell occupied by 29-year-old Oscar Oncebayas and 29-year-old Omar Arzate. They say an inmate-manufactured weapon was found during a search of the cell and its occupants. Quintero, Jones, Monsiváis, and Arzate have been placed in restrictive housing and population movement has been limited. An investigation continues by the Pelican Bay State Prison's Investigative Services Unit and the Del Norte County District Attorney's Office. The CDCR says the Inspector General has been notified and the Del Norte County Coroner will determine Challoner's official cause of death. Now, one question I've got, one statement, slash question, and if you know exactly how it works, let me know. I feel like I kind of know the answer. So, you can tell, obviously, within pictures, you have Sureno gang members, a Sureno gang member as the victim. Jones, though, this guy, Michael Jones, 49 years old, who's a lot older than everybody, is African-American. I think that's because of, obviously, segregated housing. You can't put Norteños with Sureños. You can't put certain people with certain people, right? I understand that. Certain races with certain races. I fully understand that. And somebody that knows more information or is really more tapped in than I am, are the African-Americans and Sureños, are they on good terms? And I know I'm going to get some flack for this, but you know what? It's an honest question. I'm not going to pretend to know everything. If somebody could answer that, please leave a comment down below. And I know not everybody is segregated. I know not everything is perfectly segregated, so it might just be by chance that he's in there. But, if you guys want to jump in on that, I would really appreciate it. Kick off the conversation. So, now we're going to be talking about, like we've done in the last couple videos, what these guys did, including our victim Challoner, to get to prison and what's kept them in prison and, kind of what their future looks like. According to CDCR officials, Challoner was received from Ventura County all the way back on July 9th, 2009, and sentenced to 21 years for voluntary manslaughter with an enhancement for street gang act in commission of a violent felony. While in prison, however, he was sentenced to an additional 2 years on June 21st, 2016 for battery on a non-incarcerated person. So that's going to be like a staff member, a nurse, maybe somebody just doing a walk through a tour. Could be anybody. But again, like we've talked about with these charges when they get listed, wording is everything. Wording is everything. So he's going to get those additional 2 years with the added, non-incarcerated persons. That doesn't look good. All right. He was also sentenced to 2 years, 8 months on March 28, 2019 for assault by an incarcerated person with a deadly weapon or force likely to cause great bodily injuries, a second strike offense, the CDCR said. Additionally, the CDCR says Quintero was most recently received from Los Angeles County on December 2nd, 2021, to serve a life sentence with the possibility of parole for first-degree murder as a second striker. While incarcerated, the CDCR says Quintero was sentenced to an additional 2-year sentence on September 7th, 2023 for possession of a controlled substance in prison. These guys are active. They are active gang members, all right? It is something that, again, when you try to model your prison system after Norway's, they don't have Sureños, Norteños, Nuestra Familia, La M. They don't have that stuff. Aryan Brotherhood, Nazi lowriders, they don't have that stuff. So it's just crazy that they think that's going to work over here. The CDCR, now this is Jones, the African-American inmate who was 49 years old, was received from L.A. County, check this out, on June 13th, 1995 on a 32-year sentence for second-degree robbery, inflicting great bodily injury with an enhancement for use of a firearm, second-degree robbery with an enhancement for use of a firearm, assault with a firearm with enhancements for use of a firearm and inflicting great bodily injury, first-degree robbery, another first-degree rob charge with enhancement for use of a firearm, and for attempted second-degree robbery with enhancement for use of a firearm. So they threw the book at him back in 1995. While in prison, the CDCR says Jones was sentenced on September 11th, 2004 to an additional 11 years for assault with force likely to produce great bodily injury, a second strike in prison offense. He was then sentenced again on August 12, 2010 to 3 more years for possession of controlled substance and in-prison offense, and again on January 20th, 2015 to 2 more years for possession/manufacture of a deadly weapon by an incarcerated person as a second striker. Monsiváis was received from L.A. County on February 22nd, 2012 on a 5-year sentence for assault with a deadly weapon inflicting great bodily injury and assault with a deadly weapon according to CDCR. Now, what I read also when I read this is you are mixing lifer inmates or guys that aren't going to get out for 25, 30 years. Monsiváis, he's doing 5 years. Challoner, he got 21 years, but he was getting close to getting out, kind of. He picked up more charges, 6, 7, 8 years into his bid. But, I mean, there's no perfect world. Don't get me wrong. It's easy for me to sit here and criticize and say, this, your prison system isn't working. I get it. I'm a, what do they call it? Like an armchair quarterback. I get it. That is not what I'm here trying to do, but I just feel like, especially someone like Monsiváis, he's doing a 5-year bid. But again, when I read it, it's like, and this is where sometimes it's hard to find this information. That's back on 2012. All right. So the 5-year sentence should have been up and done and over with. Everybody else, they let you know what else they were doing to continue to stay in there. They didn't give that with Monsiváis, but regardless, he done enough to continue to be locked up for another, 7-8 years past his original sentence. So really quick, I want to read you guys, like I promised you guys, I'm going more in depth. I'm doing more info on these videos. Michael Challoner's original crime, what got him locked up and sentenced in 2009 to that 21-year bid. And this is from an article. His crime took place in March of 2008 when he was only 20 years old. A 20-year-old man was arrested Wednesday afternoon in connection with the stabbing death of a Simi Valley man the night before, police said. Michael Challoner was taken into custody without incident at about 1:15 p.m. Simi Police Lieutenant Stephanie Shannon said Challoner was arrested after detectives learned he was at a home in the San Fernando Valley. Shannon said his city of residence was not listed. Detectives spent Wednesday morning interviewing residents of an apartment complex where Dominic Scamaldo, 48 years old, of Simi Valley, was stabbed Tuesday night during what neighbors said was a loud argument. Police did not list a possible motive for the stabbing. However, an autopsy showed he died from a stab wound to the chest. Simi Valley Detective David Del Marco said investigators were told that two groups of people were arguing. Police said they received several phone calls about 9:30 p.m. Tuesday about the fight at Boulder Creek Apartments Complex on Yosemite Avenue. Witnesses said they saw someone stab Scamaldo on the landing of an apartment, Police Sergeant Carl Becker said. Witnesses said the assailant left with a group of others. Scamaldo was taken to Simi Valley Hospital where he died about 10:25 p.m. That's crazy. Yeah, that is absolutely crazy. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Okay. So, a little more information on Monsiváis. Okay. And that 5-year bid in 2012. All right. Assault with a deadly weapon. He was released on parole on August 8th, 2016. However, he was returned on March 20th, 2017 and sentenced to 4 years for second-degree robbery as a second striker. He was released to parole again on March 29th, 2020 and eventually returned on March 13th, 2023 after being sentenced to by LA County to 15 years, 4 months for attempted murder, possession of a firearm, and possession of ammunition by a prohibited person, all second strike offenses. Then finally, Arzate. The CDCR says Arzate arrived at Pelican Bay from LA County back on April of 2021 after being sentenced to 29 years, 8 months for assault with a machine gun with an enhancement for use of an assault weapon, kidnapping with an enhancement for use of an assault weapon, and criminal thefts to cause great bodily injury, death with enhancement for use of an assault weapon. He was also sentenced by LA County to 3 years for resisting, deterring an officer with threat, violence to be served concurrently. So really quick, I kind of jumped from one thing to the other. Michael Challoner, the reason I read his original crime about the death of Dominic Scamaldo is it just gives a little more background and it makes Challoner, not that he's not the victim. He did not deserve to die. In no way did he deserve to die. But I just want to give a little more context to him. I want to give more than just a simple, vanilla sort of just spit out the facts from just a basic news article. I want to go a little more in depth, tell you about his history. And I also like telling you the history of the people that are responsible for his attack. That's really what I've been trying to do, is really go in depth and tell you guys what they did. And what I think about after reading all that is recidivism, how these guys just continue to be in and out of the system. And this is what gangs do. This is what drugs do. It's just a revolving door. You go out, you're on parole, you violate, you go back. You go out, you're on parole, then you go commit a more serious crime. So like for Monsiváis, he goes from 5 years, a couple more years, and then boom, he's hit with a 15-year sentence. Arzate, he got 29 years. Young guy like that might as well be a life sentence. Michael Challoner, he's 20 years old. He gets that 21-year sentence. He's going there. He's a Sureno gang member. He's active. He's getting down. Picks up more charges, picks up more time. And interestingly enough, he's killed around the time that he would be getting out. He might have been getting out even a little sooner had he stayed out of trouble. And it's just a sad cycle. And it affects all races. You see it with white people, Hispanic people, African-American people. You know, there's plenty of Asian gangs in California. It's everywhere. Now, really quick, to wrap this up. We talked about in the intro, that article from the Chula Vista Times, that on June of 2024, so halfway through the year, there'd already been 8 inmate deaths. And I'm going to read those names. May 3rd, Scott Cook was fatally assaulted by 2 inmates with homemade weapons at High Desert State Prison in Susanville. April 21st, our main character today, Michael Challoner, died from multiple stab wounds following a fight at Pelican Bay State Prison in Crescent City. April 5th, David Dodd was killed by another inmate at Kern Valley State Prison in Delano. February 5th, Juan Trujillo was murdered in the recreational yard at Kern Valley State Prison. April 3rd, Guy Perez died after a brawl with 2 inmates at Richard J. Donovan, or better known as just Donovan Correctional Facility, San Diego. January 24th, Jaime Ambris was killed at Pleasant Valley State Prison in Coalinga. And January 7th, Enrique Saucedo lost his life in the recreation yard at Sentinel State Prison in Imperial. January 6th, Sun Tran was fatally wounded in his cell at Salinas Valley State Prison in Soledad. Assaults against staff. April 29th, Daniel Jenkins, 68, committed suicide at San Quentin Rehabilitation Center. He had been serving a sentence since 1988 for the murder of an off-duty LAPD detective. Absolutely crazy. In Stockton, a California healthcare facility in Stockton, inmate Brandon S. Keene attempted to murder 2 officers. He resisted handcuffing, retrieved a weapon, stabbed 1 officer twice, and cut another's hand. 3 lethal force incidents. This is all in 2024. April 12th, Christopher Leong died at California State Prison in Sacramento after assaulting staff. Officer used physical force to immobilize him, but he lost consciousness and stopped breathing. March 21st, Joseph Altamirano died at ADSP in Susanville after punching an officer and continuing to resist. Officers used pepper spray and restrained him. He later had difficulty breathing and was declared dead. Finally, January 25th, Alvaro Amaro fatally shot by a correctional officer at HDSP while stabbing another inmate and ignoring orders to stop. Heavy stuff, man. Heavy stuff. Read all those names off like I just did, and it hits you. That was all in 2024. Halfway through 2024. That is an article from June 5th, 2024 from the Chula Vista Today newspaper, online, whatever. All those people died. All those staff assaults, the suicides. It's just crazy. But there you guys have it. Sureno gang definitely seems like they're cleaning up their own. What I'm getting a lot of comments in my videos is these orders are coming from the top. These aren't like actual just they're not just unprovoked or like fights that actually just are kickoff and are fresh and they went left. These are coordinated murders that take place behind Pelican Bay walls and other state prison walls. These guys are very smart. These gang leaders and members are smart. They have all day to outsmart prison staff and authorities. And if they want you dead, more than likely you're going to die. So anyway, much love, much appreciation. Until next time, you already know what it is. Road to 20K. Peace.